We're starting in 3, 2, 1.
Yo, what up, good people? You are tapped into the Grapes and Grit podcast. Let's go. All right, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the Grapes and Grit podcast. Head on over to grapesandgrit.com to connect with us. We are also on IG. Handle is Grapes and Grit. All right, shout out to our partners, Galva Agency LLC, as well as Omni Cosmetics LLC. All right, let's hop into it. So, I have somebody very, very special in the studio today, man. This guy is very, very dear to my heart. He's very, very special to me. I call him a brother. He is my family. He is a friend. I've been knowing him for a very, very long time. He has, spearheaded the creation of an educational empire, all right, by uniquely combining culture to meet the classroom. All right, I could go further into that, but I'm going to let him kind of go deeper into what that means exactly. But welcome, my boy, my family, Jarren Small. What's up, my guy?
Let's go. Man, I'm happy to be here, man. Thank you, man.
Man, look, this, like I said, man, this dude right here is like family. We met through Cortland, right? I think it was through Cortland.
That's like 20.
That was a long time ago.
20,
that was like the trilogies days.
2011, 20 years.
That sound about right.
2011.
That sound about right. We met through him. Shout out to Cortland.
Yep.
And it just seems like, like some people, you just kind of, as soon as you meet them, you may not say it in the moment, but you just know, like, that's gonna be your dog. Like, that's gonna be your dog. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's how it happened, with me and him. So I'm so honored to be able to call him, a good friend. I know that, if I need something, I can call him.
Yep.
And he should know that if he needs anything, I'm a phone call away. So again, thank you for popping up on your boy, man.
Absolutely,
and I'm looking forward
man.
to the episode, dog.
I'm excited.
Ooh, let's go. All right. So how are you, man? Like, how are you? How's the family? Kind of get me up to date on what's been going on with you.
Man, I'm good, actually. Excuse my voice, it's the allergies, but
That's why we got these Palo sticks
right,
in here,
man. We've been working really hard. Family's good. About to get married. My beautiful fiance, she's amazing.
Awesome. Shout out, fiance.
Yeah,
okay.
Chelsea, little Nora. But I mean, everything is good, man. We're busy in the community, around the city, around the country. I'm just one day at a time.
Okay. Well, I have a icebreaker joke.
Okay.
All right. Now, you haven't went into exactly what it is that you do, but because I know what you do, I have a grammar joke. I have a grammar joke. All right. So we'll laugh, but yeah. All right. So the joke is, what do you say to comfort a grammar teacher?
Oh, that's a good one. I don't even know. What do you say to comfort a grammar teacher?
Yeah.
Oh, this is about to be one of them puns. I don't know. What is it?
There. Get it?
Which there are you using? Wow.
All three.
All
You know what I'm
three.
saying?
Wow.
You like that?
Bro, you're a dad for real. That is a dad joke.
Dad jokes.
That is a dad joke.
A round of applause for that joke.
Yo.
That is funny, man. All right, so before we really get into like the meat of things, make sure you guys, like, comment, and subscribe to the Grapes and Grit podcast. All right, head on over to grapesandgrit.com to check out the brand and connect with us. We are also on IG. Handle is Grapes and Grit. All right, shout out to our partners, Galva Agency LLC, as well as Omni Cosmetics LLC. All right, so Whenever we have guests, we like for them to kind of send in a headshot as well as kind of like a blurb or like a creative or an inspirational quote, right? So this dude right here, he sent in his quote and it had me motivated and had me laughing at the same time. All right. So I'm going to read that quote. All right. So it says, to exude my personal version of success, I had to change the inner me to produce the change I wanted to see.
Absolutely.
Truthfully, everyone's real magic lies within, but it takes a leap of faith and a dedicated mindset. The goal is to pour into yourself within, which will then reflect your outer change. Oh, and start minding your own business too, fam.
Yes.
So, as y'all can see, it's an inspirational joint, but it's also like you got to laugh at that last part. All right, so I just kind of want you to kind of expound on why that is, I guess, your flagship quote. Like, for us to ask for that, why would you send that specifically? You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I mean, I think where we are today in the world, especially in social media, where everybody wants to be something or the idea of doing something, they don't really understand that is really on the other side of this, just being the best version of themselves.
Right.
And I learned that by going through the process of finding myself through my company, which has been a label to me to impact 1,000 or more kids. But it was simply me really like trying to figure out my own questions and answers throughout my life, how I failed out with my standardized testing in high school, when I just struggled throughout my whole life. It was things I had to learn that it's not so much about everybody else, it's just me and what am I doing to maneuver these things that will happen no matter what.
Right. That's powerful, bro. That is powerful. So with that, I guess that's a nice segue into, okay, we understand why that is your inspirational quote, why that resonates with you personally. So for people that don't know, because I know,
Right.
but for people that don't know, like, who is Jarren?
Jarren is a man of his community. I'm an Eagle Scout. I'm a best friend. I'm a son. I'm about to be a husband soon. But I'm also somebody that cares about the future at the end of the day. You know, I founded a nonprofit 10 years ago called Legends Do Live, where our mission is to fund and equip disadvantaged youth and communities through workshop programs and cultural experiences. But then that turned into where now we have our national literacy program, Reading with a Rapper, where we teach kids how to read and write through rap, lyrics, content, and tech, which has now put us into where our parent company is Education Entertainment, which is like an ed tech network. If you put like Def Jam, PBS, and Apple together, we create our own content, technology, and programs for the future.
Dope. That is dope.
Yeah, man. But I'm a man of my community at the end of the day.
Okay. Well, community is very, very important. You know, we kind of share that same sentiment, right? Like, community is at the core of just the success of humanity in itself, right? So without nurturing community, you know, you're really at a loss, no matter how you try to spin it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Ooh, we okay.
That's crazy.
Yeah, man. So how did you first gain an interest into, you know, the low literacy rate in Texas? And can you just kind of, just kind of break down what you've seen over the years as it pertains to literacy? And what do you think the main cause has been?
For sure. So a little backstory. I went to Hightower in Missouri City here in Houston, and I played basketball. My dad was an All-American, but my senior year, I struggled with my math standardized test. I think it was like TOS or test at that time. And you can only take it like 4 times. And I took all 4 attempts. And, you know, with that 4th attempt, my scholarships went away to go to play basketball. I didn't know what school I was going to my senior year. You know, and I really felt kind of embarrassed. You know, I had the village, like my Boy Scout troop is in my church. You know, my mom and dad are in my life. I have good friends around me, but I still didn't feel comfortable talking about my discrepancies. I don't know why, but I think it's because my parents were putting pressure on me, whether they knew it or not. You know, so it went from there to where I started my nonprofit because I wanted to make sure if I can give a kid a chance to never feel the way I felt, I'm doing something beyond me. And when we were going to these schools, doing everything, we start to see how, like, man, they're not really reading at a really high level. You can kind of see it in their speech, how they communicate, how they talk to you. All these things kind of spin from reading and writing. And so in 2018, I was watching a Amigos interview, and they made them read a Dr. Seuss book. It was Llamas in Pajamas, but they had to rap it. And I was just like, wait, they're doing figurative language, sentence structure, grammar, all these things. I was like, I got an idea. Ooh, reading with a rapper. And I called my homegirl who wrote the curriculum with me today. She's a teacher in A-Leaf today. Okay. And we created an 8-week curriculum that teaches kids how to read and write through rap lyrics, content, and tech. But the reason why we focus on literacy so much is because if you can't read and write, you can't do anything else. It's the main derivative of learning as a human being. I don't even want to get into the slave part of what that even represents, but at the same time, it's something that everyone needs beyond borders, right? So I'm looking at if I can really fix the community when it comes to literacy, I can fix a lot of different derivatives. Specifically after George Floyd, when he got assassinated, I was just really like, okay, what are we really doing? Like the idea of changing, the idea of like moving around. Some people went to go march and then went to go work for the same people they just marched against the day before. So I'm like, what are you actually doing? So I'm like, I want to change the community. I want to change people. So if I can get to schools and get to people earlier before they kind of get ruined by life, we may have a chance in the future. So, but literacy is that start to all of that.
Right. And that's, I love that, bro. I love that. That's very profound just simply because I think you touched on a few things within one statement, which is literacy is at the foundation of education, of being able to survive and thrive rather in this life. But you're living proof that there's also multiple ways to get things done, right? With you struggling, the way that you did, but you found a way to overcome it. And then now, he hasn't got to this yet, guys, but, he has his face on buses and he's, named this and that at universities and all that good stuff. So this dude here is the real deal. And as you can see, he had some of the same struggles that a lot of kids have, like hundreds of millions of kids have when it comes to schooling. But again, he is living proof that you can overcome it. All right, you can be great. Absolutely. Like greatness is within all of us. I mentioned that in the last 2 episodes that we've had, right? Like greatness is within all of us, but it's just about you tapping into it and accessing the tools that you need to be successful. So, man, kudos to you, my guy. Man. Kudos to you. But kudos to you.
It wasn't like I didn't really understand until like I got to Prairie View because I went from a kid not going to school.
PV?
Right. I went from a kid not going to school to being a student body president within 2 years. So I went from not going to running a whole campus. But then from there, I had to go read about a lot of other things about how the campus was formed. A lot of people don't know that Prairie View sits on the largest plantation in the state of Texas, the Kirby Plantation. So now where at one point we couldn't really go learn, it was against the law, we have a university here. But then I also learned that, 3 schools get funded by the state of Texas. It's UT, Texas A&M, and Prairie View. But Prairie View gets 10% of A&M's funds. UT actually has our 1/3. So we're all supposed to be like the actual equally amount funded in size. So when you think about all that, think about the generations of athletes or things that we could have had at Prairie View, but because we didn't have it from the original beginning, it was already behind for us. Right. So me seeing all of that, I was just like, this is just like not fair. And I had to learn how to play politics the right way because I saw the other side of life once I got in the student life position, because I'm meeting with the chancellor A&M who's over all the schools. And he was like, how I got my job here? I'm like, nah. My roommate was in college. I'm like, no. He's like, Rick Perry. I'm like, oh, we just gave you this job. You know what I mean? Right. But I learned right then and there within life, it's about who you know. Yep. So you can get the education all you want, but if you don't know the right people, it don't really matter.
Right. Man, my pops has preached that to me since I got to this earth. Man. Like, son, I don't care how smart you are. If you don't know nobody, you will not go too far in life. You will not. Right? Mm-hmm. Like he has this saying, right? Oh, I'm just a little country preacher. I mean, we all know that's not the case. But he tries to, be as modest as possible, right? But again, like he's gotten where he's gotten because of course, for one, the touch of God on his life. But then too, like Pops just knows a lot of people, bro.
Yeah,
like I've seen it firsthand, and I've tried to mimic that that same structure in my life. You know what I'm saying? Not saying that, I try to, make these relationships with people just so I can call them whenever I need stuff,
Right.
because everybody that knows me, including you, I don't ask for nothing.
Right.
Like if I ask for something,
You must really-
that means like, you know what I'm
For
saying?
sure.
Like I ain't got no choice.
Right.
You know what I mean? But yeah, it's definitely important to have those relationships. It'll take you, so much further. And, this wasn't on my list to ask, but
Okay.
with you speaking on that, what do you think is the solution as it pertains to, the difference in funding between like these big schools and then, the predominantly, black schools? You get what
I
I'm
would
saying?
say it's the language. It's
Okay.
how you communicate what you need to people, because often sometimes we come from a place of like emotion and not from a place of just intelligence, just thinking.
Right.
And so like for me, I call myself like Robin Hood in a sense, because I work with a lot of different corporations to bring in funds to underserved communities across the country. But it's a certain language, right? So two things can be true. We saying the same different thing, but if I'm saying it from a place of emotion, they're like, "Oh, what are you talking about?"
Right.
We're over here talking about diversity, equity, inclusion, X, Y, and Z. So I'm like, let me speak your language to get what I need to bring it over here. And I think for us, and specifically Black and Brown communities, it's just about having a fair shot.
Yeah.
But we can really work together. But I think we don't understand how to work together because we're trying to survive every day. We don't have the luxury of trying to like, okay, you had a business over here, you own this over here, you own this over here. How are we doing this all together collectively? But our minds are so focused on surviving, we can't even think about solutions.
Right.
So it's just really changing the environment. That's my biggest thing. If I can change the environment, I can change the person.
Changing the environment. That's an amazing segue, bro, because reading with the rapper, I feel like is a vital tool in kind of making that switch over, right?
Yep.
Even with like funding and with just the general mass of politicians, of people that control the finances, allowing them to see that we need to invest in this, like this works.
Yep.
So just can you go a little deeper into exactly what reading with the rapper is and like the type of work that you guys do?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Because it's definitely dope.
Absolutely. So Reading on the Rapper is an 8-week experience that we take to schools starting from 3rd grade all the way to 12th. And we literally teach kids how to read and write through a specific album.
Okay.
So what's one of your favorite rappers?
Oh, that's tough. One of my favorite rappers?
no matter.
We'll just say Jay-Z, I guess.
Okay,
Let's just go with
So,
Jay-Z.
for instance, we'll come into a classroom. We take 30 kids, one teacher, and we pay the teacher extra at the campus. We
Okay.
supply them with all the lesson plans. We train them. They've given them everything. And then the first week you come in, we're going to ask you, Reggie, write about yourself. I just want to see what you think about yourself as a person, but also I can see your academic ELA structure from your writing, but also your social part for how you write. Right. Then from there, we take those writing prompts to our music research team and say, based off these writing prompts, what's the best artist for them to study, right? We say, okay, we get yours, Jay-Z. You might have some sentence structure or grammar issues. For 2 weeks, we're going to focus on ELA tracks. And then we're going to come back and write about yourself again. But you're studying Jay-Z's album to learn those different ELA matrix, and you're going to come back and write about yourself again. I should see some instant growth on the ELA part of what you're doing. Then we're going to focus through another 2 weeks on the social part. What is Jay-Z talking about? Is that the reason why you don't come to school or why you don't like whatever the case might be, but making the music the medium for that conversation in that safe space? Then you come back and write about yourself again. So really, you're writing your own essay, spoken word, or rap, or whatever you feel like, right? And you think you have to, at the end of the 8 weeks, present that to the classroom, which you do, but then Jay-Z walks in, come teach you for a day, talk about the album, why he wrote it, the language behind it, the importance of reading. And I think it's a correlation to just bringing like pop culture all the way into education.
Yeah. You guys have worked with people like who, like Bun B? I know
Bun
for
B,
sure.
2 Chainz, Rhapsody, and they're all on our board now. So they're a part of the actual company in itself. They're just like, yo, we see what this does to people.
Right.
And I think a lot of times, a lot of artists want to be a part of solutions, but there was never really actually an option for them to choose. So we created one, essentially, And so like now we've in fact impacted about 100,000 kids since 2018.
Awesome,
We're in
bro.
LA, Kansas City, Atlanta, New Orleans, Houston, North Carolina, and every year we're going to 2 to 3 more cities. So it's just really growing.
Awesome, man. Awesome. I actually saw, this was maybe I don't know, 3 years ago, maybe. I saw something about Bun B was like the principal of.
Yeah, like we created this
What
whole
was that
world.
exactly?
We created this whole world, like
Okay.
Reading Rap Academy. Like, what if pop culture took over your school, where Bun B's your principal, Slim Thug's your coach, Breakfast Club is in your lunchroom. Like, just really putting us in a space that makes sense for us. And Bun was somebody I've been trying to get for a while, just because he's like the mayor of Houston, essentially. And it was hard. You know, when I got to him, when I broke down to him, like, he understood, like, oh, you really are trying to really be disruptive. I'm like, absolutely. He's like, no, I'm in. Anything you need from me. Like, a lot of these artists that we work with, we don't pay them. They actively want to be there. Like, when we did one with Meek, he stayed an extra day on his tour when he came in Houston, and the boys that he surprised, they were all on probation. The mayor opened up City Hall on a Sunday, the DA pulled up, and we showed everybody in that day, this is how you actually fix a problem and not put a Band-Aid on something. Right. But with the problem that you think is the problem, when they come and say, hey, you know why a kid might look mad? Because they actually just really are mad. Right. Sometimes we just simply just ask kids, how are you doing? How you feeling? We just assume, because we're adults, what they should feel like. Right. You know, but Bun is somebody that just has opened the door in so many ways, not only from just resources of people that he might know, but just information. You know, your man taught hip-hop, gospel, religion at Rice. Right. You know, so he's just beyond an artist. I think that's the biggest thing that we try to show people, like, they're more than just an artist.
Right. And that, I feel like that shows the power of having vision, right? Like, without vision, like, you have nothing, right? And I can see how you had a vision and you laid out the plan for that vision, and then now it's almost like the universe is making it easy, because, like, you have these major players that are volunteering their time. And, you know, I mean, we talk about being busy between us, but, like, these dudes are, like,
running around
busy.
Yeah.
And they take the initiative to say, okay, like, I'm gonna stay an extra day so I can pour into these kids. Like, that's powerful, bro.
But you know more than anybody, bro. Like, before this even started, where I was at.
Right.
I was coming to your house every day, talking, trying to figure stuff out.
Right.
And I was keeping my head low, not really doing what most people our age was doing. Because I was like, I have something I'm trying to accomplish. Right. And you always told me, like, bro, just go get it. Yeah. And I was like, all right. You know what I mean? But it took me a while to really kind of get that process for myself. And from there, it's just been like a match, man. It's just been, I haven't stopped ever since.
So how did you even formulate the idea of fusing rap and education, or hip hop and education?
It was easy for me.
Like, what, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I mean, hip hop is the #1 music listened to in the world.
Right.
Whether we like it or not, they've already made that choice to listen to it. So why would I go against that for them? Let me use everything they love and create a balance for it. If we're like, think about Gen Z and down, we're now talking to the group that's always been around technology since they've been born. Yeah. So to them, I'm like, let me use content, let me use tech, let me use music to engage you, because it gets your attention. But then once I get your attention, I can inform you with something to evolve you. Right. So like, our mission is simple: to educate, entertain, and evolve everyone. You know, but hip hop is just something that we all know is fun, it's engaging. It's imagination there. Right. And I think often in schools, there's no imagination. Yeah. There's no fun. Yeah. Not only for the kids, but for the teachers, the admin. It's not fun anymore. So I'm like, how do we just restore fun back into something that's super needed for everybody? Yeah. Okay. That was it, man. Hip hop was just it just makes sense.
I'm here for it, bro. I'm here for it, man. That's my dog.
And I couldn't, I tried to freestyle here and there when I was in high school. I wasn't that good at it, but I was like, hey, I just know the power of what music does to people. Yeah.
Man, I feel like we've all went through that phase where, like, we was trying to beat them freestyle and like beatbox at the lunch table, you know what I'm saying, in the cafeteria with the pencils and pens.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Also doing the grinding beats.
Right. right. That's so dope, bro. So, we've talked about, you as a person. We've talked about, the brands that you've created, and how much, they impact, right? Now, along with that comes a lot of responsibility, right? And I'm sure that can be taxing mentally at times to know, like, the type of impact that you have, right, on youth. So, like, how do you approach that from a day to day?
That's a good question. I look at it as if every person in the country is not good, I'm not done. It's kind of just really simple, you know what I mean? Until the issue is not an issue anymore, I'm not done.
Yeah.
I made something so big outside of myself that it kind of allows me to kind of keep creating so many different things, because once you can read, now I can give you something else, financial literacy, STEM. So it just never really stops, because it has nothing to do with me at all. I made a personal choice in my life to come out, even when I graduated college, my first company was to give away money. I'm broke, giving away money, right? But I feel like you can never outgive the giver. I always just remember, like, the more you try to outgive, God was like, oh, you trying to outgive me? Here. So I was never without, but I also just went through the process of like, okay, if you really want something, I'm going to see if you really want it. So I'll peek you in and out your dream. I'll take things from you. I'll give things to you. But this is a responsibility. And I feel like when he allowed me to go to college, especially when I was like struggling with my own scholastic stuff, I made a deal with him. I was like, okay, if you let me go to college, I got you. Whatever you need me to do in this life, I'm here for it. Ain't got nothing to do with me no more. I'm on your will and on your terms. And then from there, he said, this is what I need you to do. I was like, okay.
Now, y'all have given, I think it's like, what, over 95,000 in scholarships or something like that?
It's probably been now close to maybe like 15, 20 million.
Ooh,
scholarships.
See. Now, it's a reason why I brought that up, because I know him, and he's not gonna volunteer that information just simply because he's just not the guy that's just trying to broadcast what he does. He just puts his head down, he puts his boot to the ground, and he goes. But I wanted everybody to hear the type of impact that he's having on these kids, because I think that deserves all of the flowers, all of the praise. So here on Grapes and Grit, I'm giving you your flowers, my boy.
And I'm gonna be real with you.
That's awesome.
This is the first interview I've ever done really talking about all of this.
Really?
Out loud. Like, normally, you're right, my head is down, I'm very private, and then I made this year to be like, let me actually really come out and talk about what I'm really doing. So, like, thank you.
For sure.
But also, man, because I don't really care about the optics.
Yeah.
We get lost in that too much sometimes. Like, what are we actually doing? You know what I mean? Like, what are we really, really, really doing? So, man, it's been a blessing, but it was definitely, before it could be that, it was rough, bro.
Yeah.
Super
I already know, bro. Trust me, I definitely know.
Absolutely.
And, you know, like, with you being able to give that much, right, to these kids for their education, even outside of that, like, what is the most rewarding part of your work? You get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
But I mean, of course, the scholarships are dope, and I know that's like a big part of, you know,
for
you being proud. But I know you, so I know it's something else.
It's when you see that kid, like, so in 2013, I went to go sub in Stafford.
Really?
To see how kids work. I was very intentional.
Actually, I think I remember that. I think I remember you telling me about that.
I was staying in South Union.
Okay.
I would drive all the way to Stafford every morning.
Okay.
And I was subbing, and it was this kid. He was supposed to be in 8th grade. He was in 7th grade. He kind of failed. So one day he was just being disruptive. I took him outside. I'm like, yo, David, man, what is wrong with you? He was like, you can't talk to me like that. I'm like, yes, I can. What's wrong with you, man? And he was like, man, my mom's in prison, and I don't know why. He's 13 years old. So I'm like, man, okay, you're looking for attention. You're not trying to be bad. So from there, I never had an issue with him ever again, right? And I left. And so I said it to say, fast forward, I get asked to come speak back at Prairie View at the College of Business, because I was a marketing minor. So I'm speaking, and we get to the point where people ask questions. One dude raises his hand. He's like, hey, Mr. Jarren, do you remember me? I'm like, what you talking about? He's like, it's me from Stafford. I'm over like, whoa. he's in college now.
Full circle,
he's like, man, that talk you gave me the energy to keep going. And now I'm about to graduate college in the next semester. I'm over here like, yo, this is wild. So I think that's the answer, when I can see a person actually take what we give them and they really like apply it to themselves, and they're a better person at the end of the day. Like, that's my whole goal, is to make you a better person for yourself.
Man, let's give you a round of applause for that, my boy. Ooh,
yeah, man, that's crazy.
That's dope. That is awesome, bro.
That freaks me out. Time to time, I'll be at the grocery store or somewhere, somebody's mom, I might pop up like, hey, you know, you're my son, or you gave my daughter this or X on it. It's that part.
That's what's up. Well, that's what's up, man. That's awesome, man. Kudos to you, bro. Kudos to you, man. All right, so before we continue, make sure you beautiful people like, comment, and subscribe to the Grapes and Grit podcast. Head on over to grapesandgrit.com to check out the brand and connect with us, all right? We are also on IG. Handle is Grapes and Grit. Shout out to our partners, Galva Agency, LLC, as well as Omni Cosmetics, LLC. All right, so I saw your collaboration. I mean, you've had a lot of collaborations, right? But the one that I want you to kind of expound on, because it was super, super dope in my opinion, was your collaboration with Nike. I love the message, of bee pollen. And so can you kind of break that down? Because I'm sure that kind of went over a lot of people's head.
It did, bro.
You know what I mean? But I saw what you was doing.
Yeah,
so.
man. And so when George Floyd passed away, Nike made a black commitment to the country, to the world. They chose us in Houston. I didn't really make an announcement about it. I didn't care. I was like, what are we actually really doing? You know what I mean? Right. They was like, okay, hey, we're going to give you, I would say minimum 6 figures to come out to start doing some stuff. And at that same time, they were coming out with the actual pollen ones, the yellow and black ones. Our color is yellow and black. So I was talking to them like, hey, man, it would be cool. Let me get some of those early. I want to actually gift them to teachers. And it was like, wow, it's like teachers are the real influencers that we should really be embracing. So imagine if a kid walks in school one day and they see a teacher with some brand new shit, they could be like, yo, so off top, they're already cool. You know what I mean? So from there, we did an actual pop-up museum, kind of showcasing the history of Rita and the Rapper, but we did 2 weeks of events within there. So we did field trips during the day, but then we had stuff at night for the public that happened. So we had live concert series. We had interactive book readings with Martellus Bennett, which he used to play with the Patriots. And he now he writes children's books. So it's all these things that we just kind of put together. And I just want to build infrastructure in the city because I feel like we never really had any. But that was a 2-week stint that we did. But the whole thing was just without pollen, you would think about bees. Bees help us produce oxygen. So without them, we can't really live. So the same way with teachers, I feel like they're the same way. Without them, we're not really going to be able to maneuver in life. So it was just a whole kind of metaphor of teachers are what to bees are to life, to what we are to education.
Man, look, it's not too many people that can come up with that type of concept.
But it's not just me though. I mean, I got a great team, man. And my team is comprised of actual teachers. Yeah, I made teachers executives now. You know what I mean? And then people that's really a part of the community. So we all put our minds together and we all together for one intent. Which often sometimes you don't get to see where people are coming together for one thing versus a separate selfish stuff. We're not even worried about what we are getting. We're worried about what we're doing.
Right. And that says a lot about the brand itself, and just the mission of it for a powerhouse like Nike to even be willing to back it and even see it and acknowledge it, right, and want to sow time and effort into making it a thing. So with that, although the general goal, of course, is always to nurture the youth in some kind of way, right? And in this way, you chose to, target the teachers and put them in, a better position to, come off as more relatable to the youth, right? But with rubbing shoulders with, people like Nike and all that good stuff, you have to have some kind of business model or
100%.
Business sense. So how do you maintain the healthy balance between okay, I just want to help the kids, but then also we gotta have operation too.
Absolutely. For me, I ran my company backwards. So having a nonprofit allowed me to raise capital, one, without taxes. I don't have to pay taxes. I had to go get outside investors because I was like, okay, how can I do these things? But companies legally have to give you money because you're a 501c3, you're a tax write-off. Right. So that's me coming in, speaking their language, right? For instance, HEB is one of our partners. Hey, man, y'all are a community-based store. We're in communities. It kind of just makes sense. Are y'all a nonprofit? Yes. How much do you need? You know what I mean? So from there, it was clean cut. That allowed me kind of scale and grow over time. Once you get one company, they all know each other. Right. So when you get one big dog, they all oh man, it's a domino effect from that point. So our business model was simple to create curriculums. And then within that, when we go to districts across the country, they're paying for them now. So we're licensing our curriculum to the school districts and they're paid for them per semester or per quarter, whatever the case might be. Yep. So we can show the numbers of now that I have HISD, which is the largest school district in Texas, I can go back to Nike and say, hey, I have the largest school district in Texas for the next 5 years. What y'all want to do? I'm breaking rules and writing new ones because sometimes we're just not that's how things are made in this life. When things are going bad, something new's going to come out of it. So I'm like, I know you guys are doing contracts with the jerseys and the teams. Like I was talking to Jordan the other day, the Jordan brand. I was just like, hey, yeah, I know y'all have Jordan schools, right? Where I support the athletes. But what if you actually had a Jordan school?
I know y'all heard how lightly he just kind of said, yeah, the other day I was talking to the Jordan brand and, just.
I mean, but they're part of Nike. They're kind of like saying, you know what I mean? But like I was saying, what if y'all actually had a Jordan school? You know what I mean? He's like, what you mean? I'm like, y'all can teach them about derivatives, come work back at Jordan. So I'm looking at it from simple. You're going to make an investment over here because your return is going to be that employee that you want in the next 5 to 10 years. I'm getting to you quicker and faster.
I hope y'all listening to this. I really hope y'all listening to this.
When you think about education, I ask people, why was the education model created? Simply to make employees. That is it. That's why you don't know about taxes. You don't know about credit because they want you to be dependent on them. Why would they give you all the information not to be dependent on them? So when you think about the Rockefellers, the Carnegie Halls, all these things, those people set all this stuff up. So they made education for them to have employees. So all I'm doing is reimagining what that looks like. I'm not saying that you can't have that. I'm just saying this time, let's not hide stuff. It's a win-win model. If you impact the community the right way, especially the school, if you make the school popping, the community's gonna be popping. If the community's popping, the city's popping. If the city's popping, the state's popping. If the states are popping, the country's popping. If the country's popping, the world's popping. So I got to grassroots, local. A lot of these companies, they don't know how to be grassroots. They want to be, but they don't know how to be because they're global. So for me, I'm on the ground. I'm local, but I have a global feel. So it was just the same thing backwards.
So many gems in that. So many gems in that, man. We got so many clips from that. I'm not gonna lie to you, but if this popping, then this popping, then the state popping, then the nation popping. Then
it's true though.
I dig it, man.
Starting from the small mustard seed, you know what I mean?
I dig it, man. I dig it. That is awesome, and everything that you said is undoubtedly true. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, and I think that is a big problem in today's time. They've trained us to not put in the work when it comes to knowing like your surrounding, like knowing your environment, knowing the system and understanding like what you need to do in certain situations, why certain things are set up and how you can maneuver, to put not just you, but your family in better positions to be successful for generations to come. And the generational wealth conversation is a whole nother podcast, and that's why like whenever I called you here, I was like, okay, Reggie, just make a list of questions for us to stick to because you know how we are. Like we'll talk for hours and we'll get super, super deep. And you know what I mean?
But I would tell you, like, a lot of people don't understand. Like, people are like, Jarren, you in education, that's so cute. Oh, it's nice. I'm like, y'all don't understand the bigger business behind education. Right. Like in Texas, per school, when a kid goes there, that school's getting $10,000 per kid. So think about if your school has a graduating class of 500 people, 600 people. Do the math.
Automatically.
That's just your senior class. So this not junior, sophomore, and freshman, right? Yeah. And so when you think about that over time, you like, that's a lot of money. You're like, so like, how are y'all? What are y'all doing with this money? You know what I mean? So like, it's almost like they're babies. That's why you get a star for attendance because you're making them money. Yeah. Literally, that's it. Oh, I want you to go to this school. If you change, think about gentrification. If you move to a different school, you're literally moving your money and resources to a different area. So now you're making that school less attractive because you're taking money away. So if enough parents do that, right, two things are going to happen. If I move a bunch of my kids away from a different area, now the school loses less money because it doesn't need to give you all that money because there's no kids. It's like occupancy, right? So now if that happens, less programs, less stuff attractive. So now as a parent, you can be like, I do not want you to go there because I want the best education for my kid. Now, if that happens after that, the next thing you're going to do is move. Now, after you move, the property value goes down. There's nobody over there spending money. Right. So now a grocery store, a bank, it's not because of racism, it's economics. So now if there's nobody over here living, spending money over a period of 18 years, I'm not going to be here. I'm going to move where the money's at. Right. So it's not even about race, it's just economics. So we saw the bigger picture of like, oh, this is really some bigger business, and even when it comes to politics and lobbying and all these things, we're in that realm now, and we understand how we make cities move, essentially. Like Amazon didn't come to Houston because the schools were bad. Think about all the money we lost out on the city, then we would have got Tesla. just off the schools alone, you know what I mean? So it's a main driver and a core attractive situation for families, businesses, pretty much everybody.
Right. So basically what he's saying is education is at the core of economics because we the people are at the core of economics. So that's why education is so important on any level.
On any level.
Boy, I'm glad I got you on here today, boy. I'm like, boy, you dropping all the gems. Let's give my boy a round of applause for all them gems, my boy. Ooh-wee. All right, so, you know, with all of this, you have to have some kind of support system behind you, right? Whether it's your business team, whether it's your friends, your family, your fiance. Shout out to the fiance again, right? So how beneficial is having the type of support system that you have to everything that you're trying to do, not just in business, but just surviving and being a human?
It's super important because often, like, I find myself sometimes alone, not really able to kind of like communicate to people and talk to them because they won't really know what I'm talking about because they're doing their own thing, being distracted, whatever the case might be. And sometimes I always find myself in like presidential goal mode all the time. I'm like, yo, if we're not successful as people, I'm not done. So why am I sitting over here acting like something's like we Gucci when we not? But having that is important because like even with my fiance, Lenore, that's my person. You know, so she can see me and she'll know instantly like, what's wrong with you? You know what I mean? I can feel I'm very comfortable to talk to about anything. But also my team, like I don't look at them as like I'm your boss. It's like, yo, we're building this together. You know, without one of y'all, this could not go. So at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's about what are we doing. So I kind of like eliminated the whole me thing. It's like, what are we? If you ever feel like you're getting outside of that, we had a problem. Yeah. But we check each other. We hold each other accountable. You know, and I think it's just we all want the same thing. Right. So it's easy for us to kind of like dive into something like that. But having that support system is key. Like even my parents, when I first started my company, they didn't talk to me for like a year. Cause it's like, yo, what are you doing? I'm like, yo, I'm living my life and living my dreams.
I don't think you told me that.
Nah, man. Like when I graduated college, I stayed in South Union. Me, Doug, and Julius, who started the whole company together.
Shout out, Doug.
Yep. We moved to South Union. My aunt had a house at the time. She's like, yo, y'all can stay there. I'll pay for all the utilities. Just give me $500 between all three of y'all, right? Whew. That's a steal.
That is
inside the loop.
That's a dub.
In 28.
That's a dub.
Couldn't pay it. Struggling because we just went what we wanted to do. We just know we wanted to do what we wanted to do, right? I had a full-time job out of college, didn't go to it. So my parents was like, yo, what are you doing? But I had to understand that that's their way of knowing what stability is. They grew up knowing I got to work 40 plus years, do X, Y, Y. I don't want to live my life like that. Because I've seen like, you know, and there's no disrespect to my mom and dad, but like I've seen where they've never been on a vacation together. They never traveled together. So I'm like, I don't want to regret that when I get 6. I'm like, yo, what did I do in my life? Nothing? So I'm like, I made a choice for myself. And it was hard, bro. But like after I did that, they saw like, oh, you're not calling us for no money. You're not doing nothing crazy. You helping people. We're starting to see you on the news. Like, what you doing? And I was like, this thing I was trying to tell y'all. So now they're like my biggest fans. You know, but it took me to show them versus talking about it because often with our parents, they're from the show me era. You can't say all this. You have to really just show them. So once I showed them, they was like, oh, yo, I'm all the way in. And they help me now. At the time they call me, give me support. They know what I'm doing now. But having a support system is imperative because when you're walking that walk with God or you want to do something, you're going to have some time where you are alone. You're going to feel misunderstood. But if as long as you have the right people that you can just check in with that doesn't really care about you being like Jarren, that person out there, but just Jarren or Jarrell that you went to school with. That's all that matters. Give me some normalcy because I'm still a person. I just made a choice for myself to be successful. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm still a person at the end of the day that still struggles and goes through things and everything like that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I can definitely relate to all of that, bro. Like I have a great support system behind me. But what I'm doing right in my space is not necessarily the norm when it comes to just the world in general, but for sure, like my family, like nobody in my family has ever done anything like what I'm doing, nor like what I have envisioned for what I'm doing, 10 years from now, right? So, it always kind of takes a little while for, people, even family to like really, kind of understand what it is you're trying to do. My family is very, very supportive. So it's like, even if, they may not understand, they're still like, okay, well, yeah, great job, blah, blah, blah. We may not understand it, but, we trust that, but even Pops, like, the other month, he was like, you know what, son? Like, now I kind of see what you're trying to do. Like, now that I see your space, and now that, like, I've seen, like, somebody else outside of you kind of do something that's, of course, not like yours, but it's like, it's in that same vein to a certain point, and it kind of makes sense. Now it's clicking. Like, okay, now I see what he was saying, for these past 2 or 3 years.
It's crazy, though. Two things within that. One, your dad and your mom did what they did so you can have a better life. So you're doing exactly what they made the investment for.
Right.
Right? And then 2, it's your vision. God gave it to you. So it's not meant for everybody else to get. It's just for you to get and then for you to go work, and then they go see it through your work.
Yep.
So you're doing exactly what he actually really wanted to do.
Right.
And he just didn't even know that. You know what I mean? So crazy.
Yeah.
At the same time.
It's full circle, bro. It's full circle because, I can almost guarantee you that whenever our parents did certain things at our age, their parents was probably like,
same thing.
What are you doing? Like, nah, bro. You need to go get you that little job, so you got at least something coming in.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And then you can, once you get to a certain point, then you can try out something new and see if it works. If it don't, you better bring your butt right back here. So it's definitely just a beautiful thing to kind of see just the full circle aspect of just life in general, and how we all just kind of go through the same thing, generation after generation, which is, it's intriguing, but it's also kind of like it kind of encourages you to break the cycle,
for sure,
per se, right? Because it's like you don't want to be in the same position that your parents were at your age. Like, even Pops, and moms, they've both let me know, like, hey, like, you're a lot further than I was at my age, and that's why we've done what we've done to give you a head start. Yep. So I know that you're on the right track, and I think it's very important, just as human beings, to just continue to encourage people, because again, like I've said in a previous episode, you never know what people are going through. Like, you never know what they've had to go through to get what they have, right? And even if they have millions, right, they still could be miserable. Like, it's like, I talked about this, how I see it all the time on the news, where these wealthy people, they make the news by committing suicide,
right?
And the average person is like, okay, like, you got everything, why in the heck would you do that to yourself? But like, all this material stuff,
it's not real. Yeah,
it's irrelevant. And like, that even circles back to education. Like, education is priceless. Like, even if you don't go through college, or you don't do this or that, like, you have to have some sort of
foundation
of education, like, period. Like, no matter what level it's on. So again, I commend you for doing everything that you do when it comes to education, and just trying to pour into these kids, man, because they are the future. They are the future.
Parents too, man. Adult literacy is a real thing,
right?
Like, when I think the question you asked earlier, Texas is number 4 when it comes to low literacy in the country.
Number 4,
right? So when you think about, in the literacy statistic, is 60% of that is adults. It's not kids. So that means it's actually progressively getting worse. So when you think about long term right now, in the next 3 to 5 years, if we don't make an investment into that space, when it comes to jobs, career pathways, internships, college ain't gonna be none.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you Democratic or Republic, it's not gonna matter.
Yeah.
We gonna all be in trouble. You know what I mean? Something like, this is about the state staying sufficient when it comes to business and everything. Because if the next generation can't read and write, they can't work.
Right.
That's why you see a lot of robots doing a lot of stuff. I think people are kind of giving up on humans.
Yeah, and that's scary, bro.
Very scary.
That's scary to see, more and more of the robotic era kind of slowly creep its way in. Because anybody with any type of like economical common sense knows that the more robots you see, the less humans are being provided with jobs.
Yep,
and that in turn will affect everything.
Yeah,
right?
And what happens when people don't have jobs? What do they do?
Everything. They start doing crimes. They start doing all this crazy stuff. So it's like a ripple effect that we don't want. Right. But, you know, that is the world that we live in. Now, the beautiful thing about just us as, you know, humans is we know how to make something out of nothing.
Yep.
So it's like, yeah, we may see more robots, but we go find a way to not need the robots. Like, they go find some kind of way.
Yeah, and I be like, man, listen, bro,
You know.
they not going nowhere. I'm like, so let's make it 50-50.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a dependent. We shouldn't depend on technology. It's just a tool. And I think we've gotten too far to where we need it every day. We shouldn't need tech. We should just help us in certain ways in our life.
Right. That's dope, bro. So I want to end with one last question.
Okay.
All right. I want to end with one last question because, again, you know, I'm trying to be mindful of time, and, you know, we can go all night. So, and, you know, my techs in the back and my intern, they probably sitting there like, all right, it's about time to wrap it up. But so in this world, right, it seems to have an infinite amount of hurdles, right? So what keeps you focused and motivated on a day-to-day to just keep going, keep doing what you're doing?
I think it goes back to what I said earlier. I've been solving my own issues. I'm still solving them. So I got stuff to do. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not done. So, like, that's the method to my madness. I'm helping a lot of people by helping myself. And I'm still evolving and changing, so I'm still learning myself in a lot of different ways. But it's also, like, again, seeing those kids' faces, bro. Like, when we do these programs and we see how the kids are impacted, or the teachers or anybody, it's just like, it's priceless, man. It's like a jolt of energy. You just can't even look for it. And I often ask people all the time now, like, yo, what are you doing? Yeah. They're like, oh man, I'm doing this and I got this. Like, that's cool that you got this for yourself, but like, what are you doing? After you get all the things personally for yourself and you're still empty, what are you doing? Yeah. You on life, you're here on earth for a reason. You've been given a gift for a reason. That's why it's a gift, to give it away to people. Right? So I'm like, at the end of the day, like, if you give, you'll never be without. So like, you can still be fulfilled within your own personal endeavors by simply giving to people and not looking for anything back in return.
Yeah. That's awesome, bro. That's awesome. Well, thank you for joining us, man.
Yes, sir.
It's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to share the space with my boy.
Back.
Hey, oh yeah, he definitely coming back because we got to touch on a few things that, you know, we couldn't really go too deep on, you know, for the sake of time. But, you know, again, it's always a pleasure to see my boy, man. I love you always, bro.
I love you too, man.
You know what I'm saying? Much love to your family, fiance, and all that good stuff. Your new pup too. You told me about your new pup and all that, Zeus, right?
Yeah.
So shout out to Zeus. You know what I'm saying? Grapes and Grit family, thank you guys for tapping in with us. All right. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the Grapes and Grit podcast. Head on over to grapesandgrits.com to check out the brand and connect with us. Also, shout out to our partners once again, Galva Agency LLC, as well as Omni Cosmetics LLC. Until next time, growth, strength, and longevity is the wave. See you soon.